Welcome, good evening, and thank you for joining in with me today. So, just to introduce Bhavanshu Maskara's profile to everybody, Bhavanshu came with a non-coding background, Bachelor of Science in Statistics, when he joined our Data Science and Visualization Certification program at IvyProSchool. But from being a non-coding background to excelling after the program and during the program as well, it was a sincere effort that Bhavanshu put across. So thank you for doing that, Bhavanshu. What I want to talk about today is, Bhavanshu, you appeared for multiple companies' interviews and you were able to crack several of them as well. And then you decided to decided to choose one of the strategy analytics kind of position with carddeco.com. So you are now an assistant manager there. So, but I want to not specifically talk about one company's interviews with you because since you appeared for several interviews, so I want to talk about your experiences related to these data science, data analytics, data visualization kind of interviews that you had with multiple companies, and how did you prepare for them, and what kind of interview rounds that you saw being asked or being taken in different companies, and what kind of skills and tools that helped from within the program, what kind of projects helped from within the program as well. So, Bhavanshu, let's start with why did you decide to do this particular program, data science with visualization, and why specifically at Ivy Pro School? What was the reason behind it? What gave you that motivation, Bhavanshu?
So, sir, firstly, thank you for having me here. It's great to have this discussion after so long. And so, let's starting from the very beginning. While I was doing my graduation in statistics, as you mentioned, it was completely a non-coding background. But during my school days, I had computer science as one of my subjects, and it was kind of a interesting subject to me. So I had an interest in computer science as well, and then I got statistics. So basically, what I got to know is data analytics revolves around numbers, statistics, mathematics, and these things, and then it comes computer science. So combination of these two is what builds the base for data analytics.
Okay.
So when I was doing my statistics, I got to know, like I was looking forward that what should be my future plans, career plans, and I got to know data analytics and data science is like the uprising career for everyone in computer field, IT field. And looking forward to that course or the program wherever it is available, what can I approach for? So I came across Ivy Professional School, and also I heard about Ivy Professional School for again one of an alumni. He was my friend's cousin. So I got to know about Ivy from there, and then I reached out to Ivy. I got to know about the course, and the course structure actually very excited me because it had multiple tools. So I pursued data science and visualization. So it had multiple courses, multiple tools, and other multiple programs like analytical problem solving and CV building kind of programs as well in that. So that's what caught my interest. And I thought, let's just pursue this course. It will be a course along with my graduation. And it looks exciting. It might help me in career. So I just decided to go ahead with it,
All
and
right.
it turned out to be very good for me.
All right, Bhavanshu, thank you for that. Interestingly, you mentioned the non-tool specific courses, analytical problem solving as a course module that we have, and resume and interview preparation class module that we have. Why did you specifically mention about analytical problem solving module? I mean, we don't discuss any tools. There is no Python in it. There is no R. There is no SQL in it. Why that particular course module that came to your mind?
Because one thing that I saw in all the interviews is one part, if we divide the interviews in multiple parts, one part, if we are looking forward to a data analytics or as I am in strategy team, what they look for is your problem solving skills. That is a one designated section in the interviews. And in my interview that our uh, executive director took my interview, the final round, he put two cases in front of me, and that was completely based on problem solving. I had to brainstorm and give him the answer on point. It is not maths, it is not computer science, it is not coding, it is simply problem solving. How can you think about it, and how can you like make your path through that problem? So that was one of the key things that I got to learn, and one of the key things to crack the interviews. Like coding can be learned, coding can be done, coding can be studied, and it can be typed it out and done. but preparing your brain to solve the problems is actually what the interviewer is looking forward to. So
Okay, and
that's one of the key things to learn.
that's what we cover in our analytical problem solving class. Now, people hearing this interview or watching this interview, please do give importance to that particular course module. A lot of times, we find it difficult to have the entire nominated set of people attend the class because there is no Python, there is no SQL in it. I mean, people consider machine learning classes to be the one that they want to join, but they forget that this is a problem solving class. I mean, I take it personally. It's not because I take it personally. It's because as you very rightly said, being able to solve problem is one of the core things that a data person should be able to do in any organization he or she works with. So very, very rightly said. Let's go into the interviews a little more deeper here, Vanshu. What Since you appeared for so many interviews, from ranging from Amazon to the math company to these consulting companies like Capgemini and some product companies as well. So I want to understand from you, were there any common skills that you saw? I know you mentioned problem solving already, but were there any other common skills that you saw across these interviews?
So the primary common skill still stays Excel. Everybody looks for Excel. And then the secondary skill that is important is it depends on the position. Like in my position, they were looking forward to a problem solving person, a business problem solving person. So they were looking forward to tools like that. But let's just talk about Amazon. So Amazon, they were looking forward someone who can balance between SQL and Python both. Like if required, if the data set is heavy, they look forward to someone who can do coding on SQL, as well as if they want some projects to be built, they look forward for Python. So that's what they were looking forward to. If I talk about specifically math company, so again, they were looking forward someone who can deep dive into statistics and then enhance it using Python for machine learning. So it depends upon the position that we are looking forward to. So that's one important thing to search, look for the position that you are applying and study what are the requirements of that position. That is foremost important because preparing all the tools, nobody is required to study all the tools for any interview. But the interviewer looks forward to two skills or three skills that that position requires. So that's one of the key aspects to study before going into the interview.
Great, great. Very rightly said. You mentioned about SQL, you mentioned about Python, you mentioned about combination of SQL and Python, when to use what. You also mentioned about statistics and Python as well, combination. Do you remember any questions from SQL that were asked, any topics that you remember from your rounds of interviews that you had with different companies in SQL specifically?
So basically, the questions what I faced were not very like what is the difference between where and having. So not these kind of questions, but I was put in front of a data set. There are Excel rows and columns with data sets, and then I was asked if you want to extract this particular thing, or if a question requires that, let's say you want to extract something and it has multiple conditions, it has multiple where clause, having clause. So how will you go ahead with it? Not about writing the formula, but they want to see how you go ahead with it. So the
But the
concept
approach.
should be very much clear. The approach and the concept should be very much clear because what manager says is the codes can be written by ChatGPT as well
Mhm.
today. But the foremost thing that you need to know is the concepts that we get cleared from like staying in the classes, attending all the classes, doing the projects, doing hands-on things. That's what clears our concepts. So
Okay.
that's
Uh,
most
let me
important.
let me ask a follow-up question since you mentioned so much about projects and assignments. As part of the program, right? What aspect of the program helped you to prepare for these projects and cases, or the practical aspect that you faced during the interview, specifically in SQL?
So to answer that question, I would like to bring in the weekly assignments that we used to do
Okay.
that kept me connected to the program. And like the mid in the program mid for all the tools, we do a project. In the end, we do a complete project, core project. But to complete that project, it's not possible that in a day or two you learn all the tools, all the functions, everything, and then you go ahead with the project. It's the weekly assignments that we do, weekly quizzes that we attend. It keeps our mind refreshed with all the tools that we are learning on day-to-day or everyday basis. So everyday practice is the core, is the like catch
Okay.
to
Very
keep things fresh.
very good. Very good. So weekly projects, I mean weekly assignments that we give, and then periodic case studies that we give, and then project that we give at the end of every course module. So that's what you are focusing on. Very good. You also mentioned about Python, right? Do you remember any of the Python topics that you were asked upon, or any such suggestion that you can give?
Python, what I came across was very basic in my segments because I did not prefer to go into core hard coding because again I was not into much core hard coding but more of problem solving and business aspects. So Python, what I faced was pretty basic related to SQL or statistics or basics machine learning. So not very deep or core hard coding.
So fundamental concepts of maybe super
Fundamental, yes.
statistical techniques in Python. Tell me about Excel. You also mentioned about Excel, right? I mean, you gave a lot of importance to Excel. So, a lot of students who come to us, they say, "Why should we learn Excel?" You know, in the world of Gen AI and Python and whatnot, why should we learn Excel at all? So, what kind of questions were asked, and why do you think Excel is important?
So Excel, if someone is going ahead and checking the Excel tool of an individual, that person would like to touch everything from the very beginning till the very end. So the question starts from the conditional functions, the basic countifs, sumifs, and the conditional functions. Then it comes to conditional formatting. Then it moves ahead with the pivot tables and charts. Then again, if someone is checking into Excel, Excel also gives us a lot of visualization possibilities. So again, the charts come in handy. And then lastly, if it requires a very, like in my Amazon interview, I remember it required us to work on SQL and Python was the secondary programming part, the automation part. And they also wanted automation done in Excel. So again, the macros came in handy. I remember in our course we were learning macros in the later 2 3 weeks, the ending 2 3 weeks. So that came in handy. So that's also a very important thing to learn the tool. So basically, Excel, it does not matter whether you learn or you are learning advanced Excel, but the very basic things also come in very handy in the interviews. So they start from there and they go till the end, touching everything.
Okay. Um, Very good. Just want to understand. You mentioned about a lot of different tools. You also mentioned about statistics as well. Do you remember any statistics related topics that you were asked in any of these interviews?
Basic statistics that we learn, and so again the statistics comes with theoretical and practical concepts. So if someone learns about the theoretical concepts, it's fine, but when an interviewer asks, he looks for practical concept or the practical knowledge about it. So foremost thing that an interviewer looks for is hypothesis testing, ANOVA, and these advanced level topics in statistics, and also the basic concepts. Like if we ask, if he can even ask a question, he can even confuse someone with the mean, median, mode, standard deviation, variation as well. So
Mhm.
these things, an interviewer checks how well you are adversed with statistics, with the basics, and then comes in advanced functions like hypothesis testing, ANOVA, and these things.
Now, let me ask, how do you, so let's say, for example, next week you have Amazon's interview, right? They have given the skills, they have mentioned in their job description that you would prefer people having SQL understanding, some statistical understanding, some Python understanding. How do you prepare? You do not have a lot of time. How do you prepare for an interview like that? How did you prepare for, what tips would you like to give to others?
So whenever I came across an interview scheduled, so first and foremost thing is to go through their JD, the job description, and the secondary thing is if they have mentioned some tools, then I would first prefer the projects that I have done in those tools. I would go through those because that's what they'll be looking forward to when they look at my CV, and they'll see, okay, this person has done these projects in this tool as well. That tool we are looking forward to. So they'll grain and they look forward to those projects, what exactly they have done. So I'll refresh those projects and then I'll go ahead and study the basic interview questions on those tools that an interviewer can ask. The secondary and the third thing is to, again, if the tool requires any analytical problem solving concepts, then I will go through the projects that we did at Ivy, and I would understand a few concepts, a few approaches, how to approach them, and lastly how you should like go ahead with an interview. Again, the CV building and the interview presentation things that we did in classes, the presentation skills at the end.
Very good. Let me ask you one more question, Bhavanchu, because as part of your IB Pro School program, you also participated in our internship challenges. At least, if I remember it correctly, you participated in a couple of them. So, what was your experience of participating, and how did those interview challenges help you during your interviews as well? Internship challenges help you during your interviews also.
So when we learn in a program, it's what we are being told to do, and we are simply following the instructions and doing that. But participating in the internship programs that we do, 10-day internship or 10-day challenge and those things, it lets us brainstorm and find our way to complete the project. And it's an end-to-end projects that we do. It's not just project, it's an internship that we are doing. We are the people who decide what to do, what approach to take, and it's on us how do we proceed from the very beginning till the very end. So that's how we get the hands-on experience. We actually get deep dive into the concepts, and in ourselves we try to figure out that how do we approach this problem, how do we move ahead with it, and if we face any problem, how do we go around with it. So it's basically we learn to do things ourselves and not being told how to do. So that's key thing that helps in interviews as well, because nobody is there to help us. We have to figure out the answers. We have to figure out how do we approach the interviews questions. So that's what experience we get.
All right, very good. So essentially, what you're saying is, and what we keep telling it to our learners in the program as well, is that let's say we make almost in any course packages that we have related to data and AI in IB, we have 35 to 45 case studies and projects. But all those case studies and projects are given by us, by IB Pro, by faculty of IB Pro, right? And when we give a case, then we have a discussion on those cases. We actually have doubt clearing, and then we give you solutions also to those cases. But these projects, these research projects and internship projects that we do additionally as part of the program, those projects are where you have to apply your brain. You have to solve your problem. I mean, you have to solve the problem statements. You have to build your problem statements as well. So that is where your actual creative skills and problem solving skills get applied, and that's when you end up retaining a lot of concepts that you have learned. And a lot of interviewers like to see that okay, beyond the course, what else have you done, right? And I think that's what you're talking about. Very good. Thanks a lot, Bhavanshu, about that also. Now, you were a sincere student. You came with a non-coding background. You ended up excelling in the program. You've cleared so many great interviews as well. That means you structured your pace, you structured your program, you structured your preparation very well. What tips, if I were to ask you 3 to 5 tips that if you could give to any data learner who's part of the program or who's thinking of doing the program or maybe doing the program elsewhere, what kind of tips would you give to them?
So primary and the foremost thing is whenever we are learning something, it should be hands-on, not just theoretical, because this program is not learning about history or geography or those things. It's absolutely hands-on thing, and it's regular. It should be a regular thing to do because we have to practice every day. If we practice a tool, what happens in what I also faced a challenge in my program is we did Excel and then we did SQL and then we moved on to Python and then machine learning. So when I was doing Python and basic machine learning, I forgot a lot of concepts about SQL and Excel as well. So that's what happens. I think that's what happens with most of the students. So what we should do is when we are finishing a tool, we should keep practicing it. We should keep doing case studies, and Ivy itself provides a lot of case studies outside the program as well. So we should keep our hands on those tools, keep practicing them, and that's more of it. If we keep learning properly and we keep practicing with hands-on, then we are good to go. The tools will be very much okay with the tools. And when going to the interview, when we are all ready with the tools and everything, then we can focus on what the interviewer is looking forward to. And once we get to know that, we should focus that in the last 2 days before the interview or whatever. But yeah, the interview is the secondary part. Talking about the program, it's just we should the field is itself a very hands-on thing that we need to do every day. We should practice every day. Yeah, that's more of it.
Okay, very good. So one very important thing that you mentioned, two things, in fact, most important thing that you mentioned is that it's about practical learning The program is very practical, it's very hands-on, but you have to get your hands dirty. That means you can't just read and watch video, even though we give recordings and but you can't miss the live classes, because that's where you're also practicing along with the faculty as well. And there are assignments which you cannot delay or procrastinate. Ideally, you must do the assignments consistently. That's the second thing that you spoke about, that
Consistency is very
very
important.
consistent with the assignments and with the case studies and the projects. And the third thing that you spoke about, that what is the definition of consistency, which is daily, right? I mean, so take out 1 to 2 hours daily if possible and continue to work on it. This is one important learning that I also give to all the learners, that being consistent, even if it is 1 to 2 hours daily, but give those 1 to 2 hours daily to the program, to the assignments and exercises and the cases that we give to the program. Then you will be successful. Thanks a lot, Bhavanshu. Great learnings. Just to summarize what you mentioned, right? I mean, you spoke about the fact that problem solving is such an important concept to learn, concept to master if you want to work in the world of data and AI. And you mentioned about the role of IvyProSchool's analytical problem solving course module, which is actually mandatory module in all the course packages that we give. That is very important. Second thing, you mentioned about various different interview rounds and what kind of questions and what kind of tools were asked in those interviews. You gave importance to Excel, you gave importance to SQL and Python. Then you said that machine learning, basic machine learning concepts like statistical modeling and all those things come into the picture. But your focus was more on building the foundation. And how do you build foundation? So you mentioned that you have to remain consistent, work on cases, work on assignments, work on projects as consistently as possible. And then you also gave importance to the fact that if you remain consistent, then you can learn all these things very easily and you will enjoy it as well. You gave importance to the fact that research projects and internship projects, which we do as part of the program, are very, very important, because that adds end-to-end skill to your resume, to your profile. Thanks a lot, Bhavanshu, for joining me today. And I really wish that you do very well in your future. And all the best with Card Deco and all the best in the future. Thank you, Bhavanshu.